Hi, everybody. I'm your host, Simply C, and I am in the studio with Hobo Nephews of Uncle Frank. Teague is with me here, sitting next to me, actually, and Ian is over the phone. Hello.
Hello.
Hi,
Good to be
Crystal.
here.
Hey, Ian. All right. So, what do you guys kind of have coming up on your repertoire?
Ian, go ahead.
We have a couple of release shows for our new record, One Contender. We have one in Duluth on April 19th at Grandma's Sports Garden, and one on April 20th down in Minneapolis at 7th Street Entry. And it's also the vinyl release of One Contender, and it will be our first record to come out on vinyl.
All right. Sounds good. So, vinyl for you guys. Did you guys hit up Chaperone Records for that one?
We hit each other up.
Teague, how did that come together?
Yeah, we have known those guys for a while. You know, just being around Duluth, so it was a natural thing. You know, that we talked about and then made happen. And yeah, it's good. It's good camaraderie we have with those guys. So we're excited to work with them and also kind of, you know, it's another thing with the Duluth music community. I feel like Chaperone's pulling some people together and on the business side of things, you know, because a lot of times the musicians, you know, have congregated together and we've all played together a lot, but Chaperone's kind of taking the business side of it and putting people together. So that's good. It's a progress in Duluth.
And they actually haven't been around that long. I remember interviewing Bob, maybe last summer, and it started back in May, basically. So that's kind of cool.
Yeah, they're working hard.
Yeah, and they've come a long way from just putting out a little sampler of, you know, some Lion or Gazelle and maybe a few Bob sets, and now they've got Southwire and you guys and Charlie Parr and Actual Wolf and
Retribution Gospel Choir.
Exactly.
Yeah,
it's nice to be among that talent. I'm proud to be on that record label because I think that all those acts you just mentioned are really top notch. So it's great.
Mm-hmm. Now, I've actually seen some photos up on Facebook and things like that of you guys actually playing with the Retribution Gospel Choir or, you know, Alan Sparrock. Is that kind of still more the community sense of things, of just like, hey, come play on my set, or is it you're just in the same place at the same time?
Yeah, both, you know, like a quick phone call or something. And, but yeah, just very much kind of the spirit of the evening, kind of thing.
Now you guys just put out a new album, which you actually have some posters, which I'm excited about. I kind of want one of those posters.
You have to hang it up first, then you can.
Okay, all right. I will hang the poster up, not in my room, but out here in the hallway. Guys didn't need to know that. Was that creepy?
What I was gonna say in response to that was gonna be creepy, but
Okay.
I kept it to myself.
That's good. That's good, because then I'd feel awkward. You might feel awkward. You might make Ian feel awkward over the phone, and then this interview would peter out and die.
Yeah, thank goodness that didn't happen.
Now, One Contender. Why that title, and exactly why that title track? Ian, I believe you wrote that song.
Yeah, well, we're both really kind of longtime boxing fans. When we were kids, our dad was really into it, and we used to watch boxing quite a bit. So that sort of terminology and that sort of drama has been something that's kind of always been in both of our psyches. Boxing is just such a great metaphor for anything else in life because it's so symbolic. You know, you stand up and fight, and you either get knocked down or you stay alive or whatever. So boxing is always just strong metaphors, and just something I've always been interested in. And Teague is too. So he really liked that song a lot and sort of encouraged the development of it. So.
Mm-hmm. Well, it's a very upbeat and Hobo Nephews-ish song, if I may say that.
Yeah.
I, for one, am not into boxing, nor do I condone fighting. I believe in the diplomatic approach, but to each his own.
Well, it's like as I said, it's such a strong metaphor for anything else in life. It's very absolute. I mean, I'm not, you know, I'm not into boxing itself. I when I say we were into it, I was more just following it as a sport. Right. Neither of us are actual boxers.
That would be an
no,
interesting.
God, no. You can't be a guitar player and a boxer. You'd ruin your hands.
Or you could learn how to play drums, maybe.
It's not my hands. I'd be worried about messing up.
Yeah, yeah, your nose too is in trouble.
That would be an interesting side career. What do you guys do for day jobs? Oh, we're boxers.
Yeah.
So go on tour. We play the bar, and then we also fight the bar afterwards. I mean, interesting story.
Yeah, probably a short-lived one, I bet.
Yeah, you could maybe pull it off for a couple weeks.
I don't know. I don't know. It's not really our thing. But,
right.
You know, it is all kind of, like Ian said, boxing is very symbolic. You know, you really show your true grit in there. And, yeah, our dad and granddad were boxing fans, you know, like a lot of people were from those generations. So it seems very, you know, we write, a lot of our songs are very American songs, you know, and if you take that the right way, and I feel like boxing, how we, you know, the history of boxing, in a lot of ways ties very closely to American history, you know, at various points, and maybe not very recently, but definitely in Ian and I's dad and granddad's generation, you know, boxing was a very became the center point of racial issues and political issues and religious issues and all kinds of things like that. Boxing was really right in the middle of and very much representative of you know, there'd be two fighters representing different lines of thinking, or at least that's how the people would set them up. You know, that's how the people would get behind them, would be from different ways of thinking. So it's kind of in that spirit that song came about.
All right, sounds wonderful. I haven't had enough coffee. This is only my first cup of the day. I'm trying to make you both jealous that I have coffee.
I'm just imagining that it's really bad coffee, so I'm good.
You know, it's Arco coffee.
Exactly.
But I put in a ton of French vanilla creamer, so we're going to assume that it's now okay coffee. Now, your songwriting styles separately, they're pretty different. I mean, Ian, you kind of take more of kind of the rock and roll approach, or, you know, things that I have heard. And then Teague, you've got kind of this almost poetry, Americana, you know, here, let me play my acoustic type version. But then when you guys kind of come together, you kind of seem to mesh that in a little bit, but then it's also its kind of own animal. Is that kind of something that you guys came together? And for those who don't know, this was actually your second project. You actually had separate careers beyond that. I remember, Ian, you were in Vermont, and Teague, you were down in California. And then you guys kind of came together in Minnesota and decided to form Hobo Nephews of Uncle Frank.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I think that, so the original question was how do things, well, we have our separate things that are sort of different, and then we come together as Hobo Nephews and mesh together.
Right.
And you said something that becomes sort of its own animal, which I think was kind of interesting, because that is true. I never really thought about it like that, but there is, you know, almost like a third element or third person there when the two of us play, in that it doesn't sound just like Teague's music, and it doesn't sound just like my music. It's this collective thing that kind of takes on a life of its own. And not even with the music, just with our career and with the project, Hobo Nephews, it has taken on a bit of a life of its own, in that, like you said earlier, it started as a side project, and we had our separate things going, but it kind of gained momentum, and then we started putting more into it because there was interest in it, and you know, it just, like I said, it sort of gained some momentum, and it made us take it a little more seriously, I think.
Mm-hmm. What was the first show that you guys played as Hobo Nephews? Do you remember that?
Yes.
Was it the boat for
Yeah,
Joe
that's what
B's
I was
birthday?
thinking.
Okay, yeah, that's what I thought too.
Yeah, this former Duluth resident, Joe Berryman, used to rent the Vista Cruiser on the lake there, that, 2-deck boat. You could fit, I don't know, 100 people on it or something. And he would have bands, and I believe it was us, and Trampled by Turtles, and what was Eric Pollard's old band, Teague?
Dukes of Hubbard?
Dukes of Hubbard, yeah.
Was it the Dukes?
I think so.
Wow, that's
At least one of the years, Dukes of Hubbard was on there.
really
But anyway,
epic. That our first show was with Dukes of Hubbard and Trample by Turtles.
yeah, I remember our show being somewhat of a disaster.
I remember that
think
too. I think it was
somebody
my
sat in
fault.
on drums and was really bad. That's all I remember.
I was actually
We shouldn't have let them. That was our fault. I think we had like a guitar player sit in on drums, and it was kind of a mess. And plus, we were moving around on a boat, so it was sort of hard to just keep your bearings in general. But that was the first time we played under the name Hobo Nephews.
Mhm. Now, kind of growing up, did you guys play together, or was it more so a separate ordeal?
At different times, we collaborated with music stuff. Like I can remember both writing songs together. So I mean, like separately but together. Like we're both going to write a song, and this was, God, I don't even know when this would have been. I mean, I was probably 6 years old, and so we've always been music enthusiasts, and we've had little collaborations here and there. But we were also in different grades and had different groups of friends growing up and stuff. So we, naturally would fall in with our different friends. And Teague had music projects with his friends, and I had music projects with mine. So we didn't consciously start a band together until we were adults with Hobo Nephews.
All right, sounds wonderful. And you guys actually do have an uncle named Frank.
Yep.
Correct.
Absolutely. Frank Flanagan.
So where did the Hobo Nephews come into play?
I don't know, Teague, you want to?
It was I used to say that to Uncle Frank sometimes, that we were his hobo nephews, because both of us, for a few years after high school, both of us were at different points lived in his basement, just in between our travels, I guess it was, or we were just kind of a little transient at that point in our lives, and so both of us set up shop in Uncle Frank's basement for a little bits of time, but that was good. That was like our time with Uncle Frank, and helped him do stuff around the house and just set up shop down there. So I used to joke, that we were his his hobo nephews, and I thought that name had a funny ring to it, and then so when we were naming the band, we didn't want to be the Alexy brothers, or I don't know. So we just had that name for maybe lack of a better idea, and now we're kind of stuck with it so many years later.
Yeah,
But,
at one point there was like talk of like it was a temp name until we came up with a real name.
Yeah. We're still
We
waiting on that
we
real
never
name.
came up with a real name. Maybe that'll still happen at some point.
Well, I like the name. It has a ring to it, and you can say it out on the street, and everybody knows who you're talking about. So, kind of like saying the band low.
Well, what I like about it is like whenever we show up late, or like we're not dressed very well, or something goes wrong, it's like
Yeah, it's like, what do you expect?
they're the Hobo Nephews. I mean, of course they're late.
All right, I'll blame the fashionably late time on this due to the fact that you're both hobos.
Wait, what you call us?
Yeah, you heard me. So you guys have a show coming up at Grandma's. I was about to say the Rex, just because that's where I've
No.
kind of seen you guys
Yeah, we like the Rex
most
too.
often. And honestly, every time I'm down there, I'm like, oh, it's just automatic now for me. Hobo Nephews! No, not tonight. The tap
But
room.
yeah, we have a show at Grandma Sports Garden, April 19th. Is our release show, like I was saying before.
Oh.
Matt Ray and those damned horses, and the Brothers Burn Mountain are opening up. Should be a good night.
Yeah.
We have some special guests and friends. We have DJ Mouse. He's going to be be the host of the evening.
All right.
Which I'm excited for. I'm excited for the whole thing. It's going to be good.
Mm-hmm. It should be good. I've actually only been to Grandma's when it's a club. I don't know how Minnesota gets clubby around here. I guess you could say that, or Stargate.
Well, it's really like we're taking it over. You know, it's not. It's not going to be. It's going to be Hobo Nephews world in there on that night. There's going to be no dance club. It's going to be Hobo Nephews club.
Okay. All right. So lots of fedoras and vests.
Yeah.
And blue jeans.
Yeah, and cowboy boots and.
All right.
Yeah.
Maybe
leather.
There you go. Maybe a mini skirt here and there, but not
but
too
people will
many,
be
right?
dancing too.
Of course.
It'll just be a dance club of a different.
Yeah,
animal.
It's a nice big space. So plenty of room for dancing, good sound, nice big stage.
Mm-hmm.
It'll be a really good venue for what we're trying to do.
Right. And it does sound like it will be a wonderful venue too, and I'm looking forward to it. I bought myself a couple tickets and I'm dragging people with. Well, not really. I'm not really dragging them with. They want to go see you guys, so.
Hey, whatever you got to do, I'm all right with.
It all works out. Now, kind of, now the shows that I've seen of you, of you guys, rather. Of you? Yeah, that works. There's always a big crowd dancing at your shows, and I'm one of them, crazy dancer, flailing my arms around, and anyway. But was that kind of the angle you guys shot for, was to get almost that, dare I compare you to Trampled by Turtles, kind of that Minnesota, little maybe bluegrass, kind of Appalachian Mountains, let's see what we can roll with here?
No, but, well, sort of. I've always liked music that has a groove to it.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, like, sometimes you can kill the groove and it's cool, or like, and sometimes it's cool just to rock really hard and not really worry about the groove, you know, just rock. But I've always kind of liked the music to have like some kind of groove that you can move to, and not only that people can move to, but you can kind of swing to while you're singing, you know, or like swing your guitar solo over top of it, you know, something that you can swing over, some kind of backbeat that lends itself to that. So I think we can maybe carried that subtly kind of into like keeping a little bit of that feeling with like the stomp, you know, like the blues stomp thing on 4 on the floor thing, you know, or kind of like, you know, just finding a comfortable space in that world of like roots music, bluegrass, 4 on the floor, blues stomp, but like still having, you know, letting it swing a little bit too. I don't know. That's what I think. Ian, what do you think? We never talk about this kind of stuff. The question was
about
like the sound that we're going for.
Your dance and the stomp. And
right, if we're getting people dance. I like when people dance. I don't know. I like when people have a good time.
I've heard a lot of musicians say that they really enjoy when people dance. So.
Oh, do I enjoy it when people dance?
Yes.
Yeah, I think it's great. It's freeing as a performer, because when people are dancing, they're having a good time, you know, with themselves, and they're not just sitting there staring at you, waiting for you to, you know, do a trick or something. Yeah, I really do like it. But also, like Teague was talking about rhythmically, we're both really sort of rhythmic-based musicians. I used to be, or I went to West Africa and studied drumming, and Teague was really involved in hip-hop and things like that over the years. So we definitely feel the rhythm of the music. We're not just sort of strumming on guitars and going for some bluegrass or one particular sound. You know, we're really just trying to be original, but keeping it in a rootsy kind of framework, meaning like old-time folk and blues and early rock and roll, but not so much bluegrass and not so much Appalachian, although that's part of it.
Yeah. All right. Well, you do that very well, might
Thanks.
I add. Now, to kind of reiterate, your interview on the playlist with Karen Sunderman. I remember you guys saying that you kind of wanted to keep the band kind of self-contained and kind of small, so you got kind of the stomp floorboards going on and then just your guitars and just the vocals. Was that something that you really aimed for? Because I seem to recall seeing posters and things of a drummer with you guys.
Yeah, we used to have a drummer. The stomp boards it was a natural evolution. Thinking back now, our drummer Paul Groh was great, but he moved to Chicago. So then he started only being able to make it for certain shows, and so without him there, we decided to try and compensate as best we could, and as soon as we got the stomp boards going, just the feel of it felt a little better there just felt like there was more possibilities there than bringing in our drummer on weekends to play. It's very limiting as far as the growth of the music of your band. So the stomp boards felt good, and then from there, we kind of figured it out musically, but it felt good right away, and I feel like it's something that that we're still working on. I mean, but I consider it that I'm still working on my guitar and harmonica playing and singing too, and the Hobo Nephews is really good in that way, that we really work when we play, and we're doing a lot of, like, we both sing high harmonies and low harmonies and play a lot of guitar. It's not, we're really doing a lot up there. So to me, it's just another element of something that, that we work on in the live setting.
Mm-hmm. Now, you guys went to Sparta Sound to make this latest album, One Contender. How was that experience for you? Was it kind of a newer setting for you guys?
Well, it was nice because it's a sort of getaway type of thing, Sparta Studios, in that you go up there and you can stay there for a few days at a time. I slept in a loft that was above the control room, or on a loft that was above the control room for the studio. So you just kind of wake up and eat breakfast and make coffee and then start working on it. And so it's kind of a luxury to be away from, all of the everyday stuff that can be a distraction. Mm-hmm. If we were recording in Duluth, there's any number of friends and family and things that we could get distracted with. Whereas if you're out at Sparta Sound, there's nothing. I mean, I barely even turned on my computer for 3 days. It was great.
You got to be disconnected, right?
Yeah. Oh man, it was perfect. I mean, that's key for being creative. I think in today's world, there's nothing but one distraction after another. It's like you have to rebel and really push some of that stuff away in order to be creative.
Mm-hmm. And actually, that leads me into another question. Do you find that all these distractions, Facebook, YouTube, Pro Tools, I could go on forever, but do you find that helps some people be creative, or is that a hindrance on the creative process in a sense?
You can use anything creatively. Like John Lennon said, he's an artist. Give me a tuba and I'll make something with it, or I'll make music with it. I'll make something. Mm-hmm. So you can use anything to your advantage if you can use it creatively, I guess. But just in terms of sitting down and writing a song, Facebook isn't going to help you with that. That's for sure.
Right.
Or recording a song. I mean, I'm not anti-technology. There's a lot of things about it that are exciting. Like, we can make videos and put them right up online. There's some fun things to do with it, and it's cool to be able to interact with your fans closely and quickly. But you have to, as an artist, you have to create space to create. Mm-hmm. So you always have to keep that in mind.
All right. So it's more coming. That sounds like it's coming from a guitar player and not a synthesizer. Let me see what GarageBand can do for me.
Yeah, I guess so. I'm definitely a guitar player by trade. That's my main thing that I know how to do, I guess.
And it worked well with the album that we were trying to make.
Mm-hmm.
We wanted to record an album on tape instead of to digital. We thought that was it wasn't our first album on tape, but the last couple had been. I think our first album was on, or no, that one wasn't on. I'd have to think about it. Maybe this was our first album on tape, but we definitely wanted it to be on tape, and we wanted it to be a lot of live takes, or at least based around some live takes, with both of us playing and singing together. So that really lent itself well to being up and removed from everything, because when you're trying to do live takes, it's really good to be in a spot that you're not going to be distracted. There's not going to be like a train going by, or like your friends, stopping by the studio or and I mean where we were, there was no chance of anything. With anything short of like a wolf running
maybe a deer
through the window or something. What are the chances of that? But there's really nothing to distract us, or nothing to keep us from playing and recording until 3 a.m. if we wanted to. We're just really kind of following whatever vibe or whatever spirit we were trying to catch. There was really nothing to get in the way of that. So that was important, and that was really why we went up there, I think. And to work with Rich, that was a treat too. We learned a lot, I think.
Well, there you go. Well, the album sounds wonderful. So Homegrown is actually right around the corner here. And are you guys playing this year?
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah? Is it just understood that Hobo Nephews will be playing?
Yeah, I hope we always get to play it every year. I love Homegrown. Hobo Nephews are at Tycoons Saturday night, right after
Mary Bew.
Mary Bew, that's right. And then I play on Monday night at the Brew House.
Okay.
I'll probably have a band or something. I'm not sure. I'm not sure yet. But Homegrown's always great. The energy at Homegrown is always really pretty incredible. I feel like it really gives you a lot of freedom to do what you want to do, and people will be excited about it, as, it's like, I don't know. Whatever you can think of, people will be like, all right, it's Homegrown, just do it,
Yeah.
But other times it might not come off the same way. But yeah, so I'm always excited for Homegrown every time.
Every time? Is that like the week of just everybody blossoming and coming out of the woodwork and leaving their day jobs? And
yeah, it seems like it. But it's so great because, it really feels like the whole city is behind it, And of course with Don Ness, but Homegrown is amazing if you've ever been involved in a music scene somewhere else.
Okay.
Or just like, I lived in San Diego but I wasn't really a playing musician. I was kind of learning how to do it. But I was paying a little bit of attention to the music scene as a fan, and I've also been in the Philadelphia area playing music in New Jersey, or at least as a fan, before when I was kind of thinking about starting to play music. And Ian's been up in Vermont, so I know that scene a little bit from just talking with him about it. And there's nothing like Homegrown Music Festival. You're lucky to get just a fraction of that cooperation, from even between musicians, but Homegrown stretches it out to the whole community is involved, So
I think the loose music scene in general has grown so much, even, and the city itself is growing so much. I've been living in Minneapolis for almost 5 years now, and every time I go up, it's busier and busier, and there's more bands and more venues. It seems like it's been steadily growing for. I've been in Minnesota for almost a decade, so. Remember playing Homegrown the first year I lived here, and people didn't want to pay the cover. It was only $10, but if you're like, Homegrown, what's that? I just want to come in and have a beer,
Right.
Not that there wasn't anybody involved. There was, but now it's like the whole city gets excited for it.
Mm-hmm.
And it really wasn't that way just a few years ago, but it just shows just how much things have grown.
So what can people expect from you this year at Tycoons? Anything kind of new? Anything exciting?
I think there'll be stuff that's new and exciting. But you know, we're not sure yet. But we have a bunch of big shows for, you know, the next couple of weeks, and we have, you know, we're gonna have new and exciting stuff at each and every one of these.
Yeah, we're kind of
shows.
we're gearing up for our release shows on April 19th and 20th. We're putting a lot into those. We're doing a lot of rehearsals for it next week, and going to try and make those really special, and then we'll focus on homegrown after that.
Yeah, we'll have some special guests and stuff. We've been talking about it a little bit, so it'll be great.
All right.
And the spirit, you know, it's whatever the spirit of the night is going to call for, really, because you know, because I expect there's going to be a lot of spirit in the air that night.
All right, sounds good. Now, people can obviously pick up your album and things like that at your shows. They're up on iTunes. I've seen, I believe, CD Baby as well.
Yeah, chaperonerecords.com has
All right,
our vinyl.
and Chaperone now too. All right, sounds very
And
exciting.
also you can get it on Amazon and all the digital retailers, or online real retailers, I should say.
You guys have a show on the 19th that is coming up, and then, of course, Homegrown. Anything after that, tour?
Yeah, well, we also have April 20th at 7th Street Entry. Also,
Right, that's right.
And Brian Young from Trampled by Turtles is playing. He's our third member that night. And
we're playing the Oregon County Fair this summer in July, so we're going to book a tour around that.
Yeah.
And yeah, we're going to just probably be touring quite a bit. We've got a bunch of good summer shows.
Okay.
Yeah, Hobo
and we've got a
Nephews.com.
new album, so time to tour.
All right. How has touring been for you guys? Just kind of throughout the years and even now. I mean, obviously, a lot of people know your music, know your name, know who you are, you know, personally or by just your tunes and things like that. But kind of how has that changed throughout the years?
I think it's always, you know, it still feels good. I still really get a good lift out of the act of doing it, you know, talking to people and being in different places and meeting different people and hearing different people, what's going on in different cities and what people are worried about or what people are excited about. You know, I really don't take that for granted about touring. You know, I feel like that would be a real, you know, just as a writer, I don't know how I would replace that. You know, if I said I'm tired of touring, I don't want to tour anymore. You know, I don't know how you replace that as a writer, and you know, as someone who's trying to write songs. I feel like that's really valuable. I like everything about it. You know, I wanted to do it. I used to travel kind of a lot before I was playing music too. So I've always been a little bit of a rambling man.
Yeah, it's what I've always wanted to do for a living since I was 12. So I'm just thankful that we get to do it. It's our dream in a lot of ways, or it's our dream in every way, really. So, yeah, it's great. I mean, I hope we get to keep doing it.
Can't imagine why you guys wouldn't. You have a pretty good following, and that's kind of what music is about these days. Gotta have that audience to keep it going.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
If I may, can I jump back several years here? Now, I came upon a couple pictures of you guys actually playing at Beaner's, and also when I was interviewing Jason, he said that Teague, you played in a band with him way back when. Do you want to kind of tell me about that experience?
Yeah.
Maybe kind of first Minnesota experience?
It was, yeah. I when I moved to Minnesota, the first thing I did was I've heard about an open mic at Cedar Cultural Center.
Okay.
And I went down. I wanted to get started right away because I just come from. I played in a band for my first band. You know, I just had started and dissolved within the year before I came to Minnesota, and so I wanted to kind of jump right in it. and just kind of, keep playing music. So I went to this open mic down there, and I met a gentleman named Bill Isles at the open mic night, and he said that I should come up to Beaners and play Duluth. And because I didn't think that Duluth had a music scene. I had passed through years before and worked a little bit in the summertime, and there wasn't any trace of a music scene. So I never even thought there was one. So I went to Beaners, and I played the open mic and met a bunch of people, had a great night, and I think by the end of the night, I was the lead guitar player for No Room to Pogo, a ska band.
So you did play in No Room to Pogo.
I did,
was wondering about that.
Yeah, and that was a great experience. I learned, I learned how to right-hand mute from Jason. I don't know if he knows that, but like different styles of ska guitar playing. I didn't know much about it. It's funny to come to Duluth and learn that stuff, but I was into reggae and things like that. So, and I really liked the guys in the band, and yeah, we had a great time. I think I was only in the band for maybe about 3 months. But
it was short-lived, but it made lasting friendships.
Indeed.
All right, sounds wonderful. And you also had dreads back then.
Did I? I think I cut them the first time. When I cut them the first time, one of the first places I went to, I think, was the very first No Room to Pogo practice, and I felt really weird, yeah, that was right when I first got to town.
Okay, now I'm wondering what pictures I'm looking at. So
yeah, I don't know. I grew them back though.
Documentary.
Yeah, I don't know. We'll have to straighten this out. And I might be remembering wrong, but I think that was when I caught him the first time.
It's all good. So Ian, I actually have a picture of the both of you on stage at Beaners. Was that for a Hobo Nephews show, or was that for open mic? If you can remember.
That might have been.
I don't think I ever did an open mic at Beaners. Teague and I used to do shows together, but not under the name Hobo Nephews, and we would both do solo shows, and then we would collaborate for a few songs, really whatever songs we knew together, because we, at that point, we didn't have a whole repertoire together to even do a show. So it could have been one of those. One of the first gigs I did in Duluth at all was at Beaners, me and Teague, and Trampled by Turtles. There was about 20 people there, and the sound system crapped out during our set and turned into just a feedback explosion, and we walked off stage because they couldn't figure out how to stop it.
Oh, no.
It could have been that show. I don't know. Room clearing feedback. But we've played at Beaners a bunch of times over the years. We did a CD release show there, didn't we, T?
I believe so.
I don't know what it was. Maybe for our EP or something.
Yeah.
But, we played a show there with Pieta Brown and Bo Ramsey. I remember one time. That was really cool. We did one with the Pines there. So we've played at Beaners a bunch of times. I'm not sure what the pictures are, but.
Well, I might have to dig them out, or I'll just send you guys the documentary when it's done.
Yeah.
All right, sounds wonderful. Well, thank you for letting me divulge and go back. It is. I was actually talking to Mary Bew here not too long ago, and she remembers playing with you, Teague, at one of your very first shows at Beaners. She brought you out on stage.
Yeah, I remember. I think I remember the show. Yeah, way back. Yeah, I've known Mary was another one of the first. It's funny because a lot of the people that I met in my first year in Duluth, I'm still making music with. I realized this recently, like Eric Pollard and Eric Koskinen and the guys at Trampled by Turtles and the White Iron Band. I met all these people just by fate or whatever, I just met everybody really quick, and it's really most of the people that I make music with in Minnesota I met, in the first 6 months after I got here in April 2000, I think it was. So yeah, I've been lucky.
All right, and that Duluth community once again pulls through and brings everybody out of the woodwork and brings everybody together, and that's the end of that.
Yeah, and Minnesota too. At large, I love Love Duluth, but like, White Iron Band, Eric Kosk, a lot of those bands aren't really Duluth bands, although they've kind of made, White Iron Duluth shows are great, and Eric Kosk and Duluth shows are great because they have connections here, even though they don't necessarily live here. But yeah, I think Minnesota, Duluth, and Minnesota in general is great music community, great place to make music, really good traditions up here, and a real sense of the roots of music. It's not we're not in say Nashville or LA or something, where there's a lot of pressure, to make the music a certain way, or to try and sell so many things. There's a great independent music spirit, based in long-standing traditions. But there's also, I don't know, Minnesota's just a good spot because there's also like Prince, who's one of the great innovators.
Of course.
And Dylan's a great innovator, and it's a good hip hop scene. So Minnesota has a lot of cool things going on. Good punk scene.
Yes, definitely. Ian, how does Minneapolis kind of compare, or is there absolutely no comparison?
I guess it's just bigger here. I mean, there's more people, therefore more musicians, and just more. But I guess the difference is that maybe in Duluth it's a little bit more inclusive in that at least a few years back we would do shows on bills with all kinds of different bands on the same bill, like Crew Jones and the Keepaways and stuff like that would be on the same bill as Trampled by Turtles and us. And I remember Trampled by Turtles going out on tour with Low a bunch of years ago, that seeming like an odd combination to a lot of people. And it is a pretty different combination, pretty different audiences and different music, but that sort of collaboration and open-mindedness, I guess, is indicative of the Duluth music scene. And there's stuff going on in Minneapolis too. There's lots of stuff going on in Minneapolis. It's just a bigger community, or several different communities all in the metro area. I don't really know how to compare them, but it's just a little bit more spread out, just like the actual geography of the place down here.
Right. Is there kind of more competition? I mean, obviously there's going to be competition everywhere, but is there a little bit kind of more, not necessarily elbow bumping, but... I think there's more people. I don't know that there's more competition in terms of talent. Like a lot of the people that are getting noticed down here are the people from Duluth, the same people that Teague was just talking about. Actual Wolf and Trampled by Turtles and Charlie Parr, they're all people that started in Duluth 10 years ago, or maybe a little more. And those are still the people in Minnesota that I think are the best, those people that I mentioned. So I don't think it's more competition in that regard. I think there's maybe more people vying for the same spots down here. But I would imagine that there's more and more bands springing up in Duluth too, and there's only so many spots there to play. So it's probably about the same. I certainly don't find it intimidating or anything down here. That's good. I find it intimidating when I go driving down there. I don't know if I could live down there, so hats off to you for
yeah, well, we're from
drive.
Jersey, people forget sometimes, so it's actually living down here is a lot more like where we grew up than Duluth. I mean, Duluth is a very different place compared to any other place in the entire country. Duluth is very unique, whereas Minneapolis is also unique, but it's got more in common with other metropolitan areas than Duluth does.
Since you guys kind of mentioned that you are from Jersey, if people don't know that, you're not from Minnesota. I'm gonna pop that bubble. I'm sorry. People everywhere are going to do a collaborative gasp when they realize.
I think a lot of people know. We've always had Jersey pride. We always talk about Jersey. And I think that that's what sets us apart from other bands in our genre in Minnesota, because we didn't grow up with all the same influences as the guys in Trampled by Turtles or the guys in Pert Near Sandstone, or whomever, because we are from this whole other part of the country.
I have never been to New Jersey myself. Kind of the music scene down there, is it kind of more of a rough and tumble crowd, or is it a little bit more kind of little pockets of different kind of community sense?
Well, the thing is that we weren't professional musicians there because we grew up there and then we moved away. So we didn't, we weren't trying to do the Hobo Nephews there. Or actually, Teague actually was a professional musician there. I'm sorry, Teague. He had a successful run with a band called Spilled Milk, so maybe he would have more insight into that question.
There is no scene. Where we grew up is about Atlantic City, and Atlantic City is about money. There's no room for your little music idea. But create your original music idea. Give me a break. It's cover bands. It's cover bands that are made to play the casinos, and a lot of times, it's big business cover bands. A lot of times, the bands aren't even put together by themselves; they're put together by the booking agencies. Put together the talented bass player who can sing, Phil Collins and Billy Ocean. Combined with the drummer who can sing. The high parts on the Eagles songs, and and they put together bands like that and give them a fancy name and big budget, and those bands rock the bar scene. It's not there's no room for error down there. There's so much money when if you're either in the casinos or even have like the beach bars and things like that have music. A lot of those places, the ownership turns over quick. It's a Jersey Shore. It's a hustle for a quick buck. So people aren't trying to develop your band, so that a year from now or 2 years from now, your original band is selling, selling out this 1,000-person club. They're bringing in, top 40 cover bands that people can get drunk to and spend money to, and there's no conversation about it. We fought. Even our hometown bars, we really had to work them and get other people to work them, and just get a whole posse of people telling the bar to let us play, was the only way to get started there. And so there is no scene, so when you talk about homegrown, it's great benefit to have a scene, to have venues to play and things like that. When we were playing back there, we had to create the venue, to get a start, and then convince the real venue, to let the local original band give it a shot, which wasn't, you're not really dealing with nice guys, you know what I mean? These are these are people out, hustling to make a buck, so it was tough, it was a tough place to get started. I don't know. It was kind of like all or nothing, either it was like we were going to get picked up by a record label, because you're near Philly or New York, or and I wasn't going to play covers in the casino band. That's just not who I am, or not the kind of musician I am, person I am, or nothing about me would allow me to do that. So I never really saw myself in that, as a professional musician. I never saw myself as a professional musician. I think because I grew up there, I didn't see anybody around that to emulate myself after at all. Whenever I met, and a lot of times as kids we would meet musicians because we were interested in music.
Right.
So whenever a musician was around, the adults would kind of funnel him or her towards us. Be like, yo, meet a musician. And it was always a drummer in a casino band with a bad mullet haircut and a leather jacket and real proud of himself kind of vibe. And I didn't see anything in those guys, or it didn't strike my interest the way that just making music with my friends did, even though we didn't really know what we were doing, and we're just kids and we're trying to figure everything out on our own because we didn't trust adults, and hip hop didn't exist when these, what do these adults know about hip hop? So yeah, I don't know. It just, there really is no scene back there to speak of, and hopefully it's changed, because I haven't spent much time there. But yeah, it's definitely a tough hustle back there. You got to fight just for the right to do it, whereas here it's like, there's room and space and
Right.
support.
So it definitely sounds like Minnesota was the way to go on both ends. And
But I love Jersey, I gotta say. I do love Jersey.
thank you, Ian, for calling in, and Teague
Yeah.
for stopping
You're
by.
welcome.
Now, you guys have a show April 19th. Tickets, you can get them at the Electric Fetus for $8. Where else can people get these? At the door?
At the door, online. You can check our website,
Okay.
hobonephews.com, and then firstave.com for April 20th.
All right. And now is that the main room or no?
7th Street entry.
7th Street,
Yeah.
okay. That's
yeah,
the
it's
one
gonna be
next
great.
door.
Yeah, great room.
All right. Sounds wonderful. And then you guys will be out Saturday for Homegrown.
Yes. Yep.
All right. Well, thank you guys so much.
Yeah. Thank you,
Okay.
Crystal.
Thanks, guys. Bye-bye.
Bye.